Imagine you wanted to create a story which would make people angry and indignant and play into people's fears of chaos in society and people running amok. Then I suppose you could always create a story such as a 87-year-old man stabbed to death while collecting money for Ukraine or something like that. And this is what I believe this story is. I don't think this story is true, but I hope you'll bear with me because a lot of you will be angry with me for suggesting such a thing. Unfortunately, I know from an experience, horrible experience, that the government and police do manufacture stories for public consumption because the average person, unfortunately, is very easily manipulated via these type of things. It sounds very horrible, and it would be horrible, but it's just as horrible in a way that it's probably more horrible. Actually, it's much more horrible that the government would do something like this. Now, let me explain to you why I know that this is a faked event. The images we've been given and the evidence we've been shown is a lie. Very, very clearly a lie. Now, I happen to know that part of London very, very well. I know that area very, very well. And I know that Tesco, and I've seen this particular busker many times in the past, although I generally ignore people at the entrance hanging around collecting for this or that, or usually for themselves. Now, we're told that this man, 87-year-old busker, who apparently is much loved, although I don't know where the evidence for that is, but let's say he is much loved. This man was collecting money for charity for Ukraine, and we are told here, and this is what it says: final moments of a much loved man. Okay, let's have a look at the final moments. Okay, so as you can see, he's moving in this direction. Now, I know that area very well. These are the final moments before the stabbing, right? And it's caught on the CCTV, again, very, very, very poor footage, broad daylight. Again, a lot of people don't seem to care that the footage is such low quality. All the footage we're shown, especially in events that are dodgy, has very severe defects, which is show cropping, lack of timestamps, things like that. So this is supposed to be from the shop, right? It doesn't look to me, it's not. You can't even see the person's face. This shop video, I think this particular shop is a government hangout. They often have some kind of shop that the police have some kind of links with. I think the shop was in on this event. Now, this is Western Avenue, and over here, if you look at my thing, that will be Tesco in Perivale. Tesco in Perivale. So as you can see, the guy has left Tesco in Perivale. He is now going somewhere else. Whether or not he's going home, I presume he might live in Greenford, which is to the west of Perivale. So this guy is now moving in a westerly direction. Okay. Now here it says the final moments, blah blah blah, have been captured on CCTV. He was travelling home after busking outside Tesco in Greenford. It's not Tesco in Greenford, it's Tesco in Perivale, right? Greenford is another area. To raise money for Ukraine when he was stabbed and left. So allegedly he's 87, but he busks on behalf of Ukraine. That's the story. I'm pretty sure that before Ukraine became a hot topic, he was busking for some other reason. I asked politely if there's any evidence that he handed over any money to the Ukrainian charities, but people get angry if you even suggest such a thing because an 87-year-old has died, how dare you. Okay, well, and it says this footage was taken. It's very specific what's being said. It's being said by someone called Matthew Young and Katie Weston and Matt Spivey, right? I wonder if there's any relation to Chris Spivey, who does good work. So the footage was taken just 20 minutes before the much-loved pensioner was killed, just a mile away from the store. Local shop worker Ronak Patel, after he had seen him going back and forth on his mobility scooter, Local shop worker. So he's supposed to think that the guy who works in this particular shop, which to be fair never seems to have any customers at all, because I know I pass the area, I've been there many times. Roland said that's him. He went past twice every day on his way to and from Tesco. To and from Tesco. Now, do you think an 87-year-old will be going to and from Tesco, right, or just once a day? So this is the alleged story. Now, we have this very odd picture of him, which could easily be a Photoshop, in his kitchen, you know, with a fairy liquid and all the rest of it. Where they got this picture from, I have no idea. Here we have the man. Very quickly, we have an ID. Obviously, this man, we've been told he's somebody from Southall. His 44-year-old guy who's from Southall, and he's got a anglicised name, which would suggest that this person who I think probably, I don't know what's going on, but he might be West Indian, okay, based upon the name, Lee something or other. And we got a lot of stuff here. Frasley Coutinho lives opposite the scene. Yeah, and let's supposing you did see a group of kids stabbing someone to death. Would you particularly want your name in the papers? Earlier claims have seen Thomas surrounded by a group of young boys. Okay, so the point we're going to make here is this. The point we're going to make here is this. We're told very specifically that these are the final moments before stabbing, right? And this footage was taken, according to the media, 20 minutes before was killed. Okay, right. This means he's leaving Tesco Perivale and going west on Western Avenue, presumably to go home, okay? Or maybe just to take part in some sort of drill. Right, please bear with me, and please allow me to just posit it as perhaps a theory. I've seen the film 12 Angry Men, and I base all my research and all my analysis on that movie, which is, do not jump to conclusions and do not be spoon-fed things. A lot of people instinctively, without question, believe whatever they're told. We have to get away from that type of thinking. Looking at this stuff, I want to make a few points. They say things like the footage shows a man coming at the alleyway, and then they say things like police believe Thomas was stabbed. What do you mean, police believe? They must know where he was stabbed. When people get stabbed, there's blood. I personally find it, I think we can all agree that stabbing an 87-year-old man to make a few quid, allegedly, is a bit of an, why would you need to stab an old man? I mean, you could just steal whatever he's got. You wouldn't need to stab him. If you can't steal from an 87-year-old person, you don't need to stab someone to death to get, I don't know, whatever, the money you get. Because I don't really see people giving much money to these people at all. People would legitimately think, well, is he going to give, I don't even like, I don't want to give any money to Ukraine. Even if I had money, I wouldn't give it to Ukraine, Ukrainian government at least, or their bogus charities. But let's say that he, you don't have to stab an old man. Nobody would do that. But it's the sort of thing that's so wicked that they make this story, then people get really upset about it, and that's why they make these stories. This is a psyop, right? This is a psyop. Now, they often have these kind of incidents that take place next to overpasses and stuff where things can be obscured from passers-by, right? It'd be quite easy to set up a scene here or to take some video footage. But again, this video footage doesn't make sense to me. If I lived at that particular address, right, then you can be sure, you can be 100% sure that I wouldn't have my camera pointing quite in this direction. I'd have it pointed at my front door. And you'll notice that most of these videos don't have footage that really shows what people would want to see. Now here's something else. I noticed that a previous picture of this guy's mobility scooter shows that there are two wing mirrors, but this particular one has only got one wing mirror. So why did somebody nick his wing mirror? I mean, who knows? This also is a guy's accordion. right? Nobody who owns an accordion would hang an accordion like that. That's not how you store an accordion, right? That's just not how. Or are we supposed to believe that these hooligans, after stabbing this guy to death, right, just left the accordion in this fashion? They are mocking us with this shit. This is a staged shit picture, right? This is probably not the same scooter, and that accordion will not be hanged by anyone who plays the accordion in such a fashion. That's not how you store an accordion. And the guy who wrote this propaganda basically is a trainee reporter specialising in LGBT issues, right? LGBT, blah blah blah. So, got a story? You can reach Matt. Maybe I should email him and say, look, Matt, maybe you've got this story wrong. Maybe you need to do some actual investigation. But do journalists do any investigation anymore? Do they just accept everything they're told? Yeah, if I didn't do any thinking, I just automatically believe this story because it's possible. It is possible that some 44-year-old guy from Southall would go to Perivale, God knows why. They've got Tesco in Southall, you know. They could go to Perivale and stab someone to death to get a few quid from someone you could so easily mug. Let's say this guy did have some money. Let's say you could so easily take it from him, right? Right, so they stabbed him to death for that. And there's no way, I don't believe that the guy would have had much money on him, right? And also, we've no evidence whatsoever that I've seen that the money has ever been passed on to Ukrainian charities. Be interesting to find out. But of course, that wouldn't suit the narrative if it was to be shown that this guy actually didn't give any money to Ukrainian charities. Then you couldn't call him a much loved guy. You'd call him a fraud who was basically defrauding money and pretending to give it to someone but not, which is quite a common crime as a matter of fact. And just to briefly change the subject, look at this picture here. Woman raped after unknown man approached. Look at that picture. Have you noticed how bad all these pictures are? Have you not noticed how appalling the so-called footage of any crime is? Why do you think that is? Use a bit of common sense for once. Alright, so let's go back to this. I've only got a couple of more minutes. It says, Mr. O'Halloran was attacked while on his way to busk, according to a friend. Well, actually, no. This is from the BBC, by the way. Mr. O'Halloran was attacked while on his way to busk. Well, that's not true because, well, maybe none of this is true. But according to the video, which shows him in the last moments before he died, he's actually going away from Tesco, right? So that doesn't mean he's going on his way to busk. So we're being told contradictory information, right? That I strongly suspect this event has been staged in order to antagonise the public. The police are completely and utterly useless, but in addition to not solving any crimes, the police actually participate in fake crime to serve as a pretext for more police on the streets, because we are moving towards a police state and the police are not there to protect us, unfortunately. I wish they were. Sadly, our police are Freemasonic. They're not good. I mean, anyone who's ever called the police or had dealings with the police will know that unfortunately they are not good people. They are not helpful people. They don't care about the public. They really don't. If you try and report a crime, and this at least we can all agree on, even people who believe this story realise a lot of people don't bother reporting crimes because the police don't show up. I mean, even if you go to a police station in person to make a statement, they won't listen to you, right? And of course, because people don't report crime, the police can then say, oh, well, it doesn't exist on the statistics. I mean, obviously crime is a lot greater than we're told. But as I said, I've noticed some very big discrepancies in this story. The low quality footage, the lack of reason for this crime. You don't stab an 87-year-old to steal 10 or 20 quid, right? You just don't do it. You just take their bag, right? So my 15 minutes is up. I'd like to thank you for listening to me. I would ask you, please, do not get angry with me for raising these points, okay? Even if I'm wrong, we should all have the right to question events. It's in everyone's interest that we keep an open mind. Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's not act like Pavlov's dog. Thank you for your time.